Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the Mantastic Experience. It is me, Mr. GP, your legal expert, joined by Professor G, your educational expert. The money man C Squares here, your financial expert, and the beautiful Miss Minga, your social emotional expert. We ready to get down. So, Professor G, what you got?
We're going to have a conversation and discussion today about how we can have a more fulfilling life. And we've been saying that to have a fulfilling life, you do want to have a wife because you don't want to be out there investing your money and time into different females and different relationships and continue to start over. You go broke like that. I mean, hey, if you're an NBA player, a celebrity, maybe you don't got to worry about that. But that's a whole nother life I don't understand. I'm a regular dude. I ain't got millions of dollars to finance, females and pay child support all over the place. So if you're trying to be successful, you got to try to keep your money consolidated. So we got to know what kind of man you are if you're going to make yourself a better person. And I'm sure you've heard the term before of body, mind, and soul. You have to take that seriously, and you have to develop these things on a constant basis, or you will not be a whole person. So to develop your body, you obviously have to eat well and you have to exercise. Very important. I know a lot of people hate exercise. They hate the gym, but more importantly, what they hate is the pain that comes with exercising. But remember, pain is just weakness leaving the body. And having a proper diet will equal how long you live on this planet. And being around is a good thing, last time I checked. So that's your body. Continue to diet and have proper exercise. Now, as far as your mind, we can't stop learning. And a lot of people do that. They know what they know and they don't want to know anything else. And this is why we have such political and social turmoil. People are not trying to learn. But you always should learn. This is why reading is important. Even learning how to build a new skill or how to communicate differently. This is all important. One of my dogs I respect, he's learning a new language and he's well into his 40s. So he's keeping that brain development going. Why do you think some of these politicians are still in Washington into their 80s and 90s? Because all that moving and grooving, taking bribes and not helping the people, whatever they're doing, that stuff keeps their brain function going because they're always plotting and scheming. The devil is always busy. So you have to keep the mind functional, even doing little puzzles and doing little word puzzles. That keeps your mind sharp. And finally, your soul, with your soul, you have to think about it. A lot of people today don't even pray. It's like I pray every time before I leave the house. And I'm not saying that makes me a saint because I got a lot of stuff I still need to work on. But when I talk to people who have sick relatives or going through stuff, and I'm like, yo, do you pray on it? They're like, nah, I don't even pray. That's major. Okay, they have studies on this, on people who are spiritual. They live longer. They have less instances of anxiety and depression and have better health, better finances. You can look it up. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you who to pray to. And if you're not praying, at least meditate. But you have to do something for your soul because we all got one. And this takes us... Go ahead.
What's the question you're posing to the people here?
So I'm dropping gems, and you're gonna just dead my gems and ask for the question. I'm coming to the question, my guy. I'm coming to the question, my guy. So last thing I'm gonna tell you. Let me give you the equal for all this. So finally, when you think about body, mind, and soul, it puts you in three places. One of three places. Are you operating on the God level? Are you operating? And the God level is a very spiritual level. This is where a lot of people can't reach, because if you are of the God level, you are not of this world. If you're on the man level, this means you're rationalizing, you're responsible, you understand that your actions affect the environment and others around you. This is if you're on the man level. But if you're on the animal level, and a lot of my brothers who are too overly masculine and tend to be more street dudes, if you're on the animal level, you're operating on instinct, but the problem with that is you could end up in a cage. And that's why some people end up in a cell, because they're thinking too much like an animal. Or you're just out there, banging like dogs, and you end up you're with an STD. All right, this is not the way you're supposed to live. So my question to you is, where are you now in life? Are you on the God level? Are you on the man level? Are you an animal?
Well, who wants it first? C Square, do you want to take the bribe since you're the money person? Anybody want to take the dogs with STDs? Who wants it?
What if someone has that he or she was an animal with an STD and has now changed his or her life? If there's some
Okay.
type of redemption for that person.
You're saying if someone's on the animal level and they have an STD, well, I'm gonna take that question and flip it to you like this: the STD is a warning for you to change your direction. A lot of people don't look at that. So if you catch a burn, that's telling you that you having too much unprotected sex, too much partners. Something that happens to women a lot that they don't realize: if you get a UTI, a urinary tract infection, that's because you have too much appendages going in there. It's not made for that. Too much fluids from different people. So once you're having these things, you're getting STDs or someone's ex-boyfriend is shooting at you, trying to beat you up. That's a
Wow.
sign from the heavens that you need to change your direction.
Well, I don't want to talk too much about fluids here, but I will say I think most people on the man level or the woman level. You the thing about being a human being or an adult, you're going to go into different phases, right? There's going to be parts where you're really hitting kind of on that God level, like you're saying, where you're kind of more in that spiritual zone and moving in a certain light. There's also going to be that point where you might go to your baser instincts and you might be moving more animalistic for whatever reason. Sometimes life is dog eat dog, so you gotta move appropriately. I think kind of what you're saying, reading is very important. As a kid, I read a lot of books, Sun Tzu's Art of War, the Book of Five Rings, these kind of things that kind of help you navigate these different levels of life and manhood, because you can't just be one. You can't, everybody just can't be holy. Sometimes you need people that can do the dirty work. So I think hitting each aspect and controlling each aspect correctly is key.
Oh, you're right. Sometimes you do got to get your hands dirty, but you should always try to rise to the level of someone more spiritual, someone more godly, and try to bring others with you.
I think that there's got to be some principles that you maybe have to adhere to go from somebody who's acting like an animal, hitting everything in sight, running from the ex-boyfriend or the current boyfriend, whatever the case may be, right? And then to go from there to being a little bit, getting to that place where you said your mind, body, and soul is in alignment and you're on that God level. Like, what are the principles that you gotta kind of start absorbing? Because I don't know that you can just flip a switch. You got to be thinking about many steps to help you make
Yes, sir.
progress. What do you think about that, Professor G?
Bro,
Anything you can add?
that's a great question because it's all the small things that hopefully most people have heard since the time of a child. And again, to remember that we're not perfect. So not lying, keeping it 100, keeping it a stack. That's one of the first steps. And that's hard for a lot of people because they're trying to perpetrate a fraud, especially online, trying to show they have more materialism than they have. And we shouldn't be all about materialism. So don't get me wrong. If, my wife throws on a dress that I don't like, I ain't going to walk up and say, hey, you look horrible in that dress. Where am I going to sleep that night? But we're not going to go lie and tell our children that they're performing well if they're doing mediocre in school.
Right.
So there's a line between honesty and exaggeration. And the next step is you might have a period in your life where maybe you were lost, maybe you were going through a lot of partners, but your goal should be to aspire to one person. If you're a celebrity and you got money to keep running through different relationships, because every relationship is an investment of time and money. And then if you pull out of that relationship, now you invested into a new relationship, more time, more money. Regular dudes can't afford that. Don't get me wrong. I got a few brothers, they got their 007 flex and they got their side chicks. They doing what they do, just like a lot of females. But how long can you maintain that?
What exactly is the 007 flex, if we could get a definition
So
of
that's
that?
what when you're on your James Bond level tip, and you may go, you might have a relationship with a female, and you clean up nice. There's no evidence. They never know. And again, this has to do with the 3 levels. So if you're on the man level and you're doing your dirt, you know how to rationalize and hide your dirt. But if you're an animal, these are the brothers who are just like leaving evidence all over the place. Ex-girlfriend or current side chick is calling their main girl or their wife, and they have no clue or no desire to hit the God level.
So, I mean, it sounds like in a lot of ways, you're saying you have to know how to use your tools. Sometimes you have to have the hammer, sometimes you have to have the screwdriver, sometimes you have to have the scalpel. So that's what it's kind of sound like you're saying. Because there's a time for the hammer where you got to come with the blunt force and just bang, just knock it out. And there's other times where you got to be a little bit more surgical with it. And you come with the scalpel, and you have to be able to cut around the edges. Is that basically
you're going in the right direction? But what I want you to remember is that this is literal. Because if you sink too much into the animal level, which most of us do, this makes you more prone to violence and acting out, because you're acting on instinct. So if a lion sees a gazelle, they're not going to rationalize like a man, like, oh, should I attack the gazelle? Or no, they're hungry. They're going in. They might look around to see if there's any competition, but after that, they're going in. And again, sometimes that's effective in life, but that's not always the way you want to do things. And again, just to be clear, on the God level, sometimes you have to make sure that you're trying to aspire to something higher than just sex, food, and comfortability. You have to have some kind of discipline. This is how you get to the God level. But we're going to talk more about that on another segment.
So, Ms. Mingo, we can give you the last word on this. You got anything you wanna add?
I think it sounds all good theoretically, how it plays out in life. I don't know if it's entirely possible, but it does sound interesting to hear the 3 levels, and also the mind part too, because the hippocampus is the part of the brain that is responsible for learning and memory. So once that you don't activate it, and when you get older, you get those types of like Alzheimer's. So I
dementia, right?
To be able to make sure that your brain is activated, that you eat right, and that you're aligned with God. I think these are all wonderful things, and if I had that, I think I would be better off.
There you go. That's what we're trying to say.
All right,
I really agree with Mr. GP. You have to know what tools. You have to have the right tools and know how to use them.
There you go. So
that could mean a lot of different things right there, but we ain't gonna talk about it.
We're gonna leave it right there. Learn how to use your tools. Aspire to be higher. Stop getting STDs. Mantastic Experience.
All right, so you are back here with the Mantastic Experience. So Mr. GP said he's a little concerned about our youth today. What's the problem, Mr. GP?
So I was reading this article in the New York Times. The article is called Boys and Young Men Are Falling Behind, written by Claire Kane Miller of the New York Times. And in this article, it says that the trajectory of young men is just completely off. And right now, the world is favoring girls. So it goes through stats from kindergarten to adulthood. From kindergarten, it's saying that schools are more academic now. And being that girls mature faster than boys, girls are adjusting to school life quicker. So what happens is the boys start falling behind from kindergarten level. Then you get the boys are considered more the troublemakers. Girls' GPAs are higher. They're graduating at a higher rate right now. Men are graduating about 83%. Boys are graduating 83%. Girls at 89%. Of those males that are graduating, only 57% are enrolling in college, where for girls, it's 66% are enrolling in college. So literally from the jump, boys are falling behind. And there's 2 quotes in this article that really hit it. So the first quote is from Richard Reeves, president of the American Institute for Boys and Men. And he says, there's evidence to think that the education system is not as boy friendly as it could be. Pretty much admitting that our schools are not really targeting boys or male success. The other quote comes from Rob Willer, a professor of sociology at Stanford, who says contemporary America, the contemporary American economy is not rewarding a lot of characteristics associated with men and masculinity, and the sense is those trends will continue. So I want to come to everybody, but I wanted to go to C Square first because he's a man who's raising two boys. And he has daughters too. What are you seeing out there as a parent? What do you see in raising your boys in America today?
Yeah, man. Listen, when I hear stories like this, articles like this, as a parent, it hurts the heart. You know what I'm saying? And I think I see it. I see the evidence of what they're speaking to. My first question, though, truth be told, was I don't know that this is new, right? I think when we were going to school, sitting still in the classroom and girls maturing faster than boys was evident, was prevalent. However, the narrative back then was, for whatever reason, teachers started to bias toward boys when it came to science, math, as you got to 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade, and the boys got really a lot more confidence, and then they were able to step out. So somewhere along the lines, we're losing the ability to instill that confidence in the boys as they get older and get closer to 12th grade. That's kind of what I'm thinking when I hear this. As a father, look, man, it's concerning, and I see the evidence, especially in my oldest son, very creative, very talented, but really just kind of threw his hands up around the school life and said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna get this thing done, but it's not me." And I had to really embrace that and basically accept him for who he was and who he believed he was. He's a hardworking young man. He's enterprising. He's entrepreneurial. You know what I'm saying? So I had to go with that flow as opposed to trying to impose what I wanted to see in him. My other thought is, and I'm gonna pass it back to everybody else, is as you were starting the article, I was asking the question of myself, is this something that's a trend across all demographics? Or are there certain demographics that are getting hit harder? My sense is probably the latter. And with that, if it is the trend is hitting all demographics, then when we start seeing things like mass shootings in schools, when we start seeing active shooters in places of work, is that like evidence of what this article is talking about, where these young men are not seeing their place in society today, and this is how they're acting out about it?
See, Square, you said a lot there, but definitely I can see a connection between the emasculation of men and now the violent outbursts which happen time and time again in our media. But C Square, we had this discussion and we were talking about your son. And one of the things that you said that I found quite profound was that when he was getting the high grades and getting the accolades, the other kids, and let's be real, especially the black kids, they making fun of him. 100%. And I've seen this for myself.
I lived it myself.
And you lived it yourself, where people make fun of you for getting good grades. And I think this is a problem, a trend we need to break in our community, where you should not be chastised for getting high grades and accomplishments to the point where you are now going from an overachiever to an underachiever. We have to reward overachievement and not celebrate underachievement. There's nothing to celebrate about that. People are too comfortable. They don't want to do anything uncomfortable. And then they're doing everything that's comfortable, so it's easier to act ignorant. And that's a problem in a lot of our poor neighborhoods. There's too much ignorance.
Yeah. Well, one thing to touch on some of the points that C Square made, going back to the article, young people today feel that girls or young women are equal, if not have surpassed young men. And a lot of young men feel devalued. Going to your other point where you were saying about you feel like this has been going on for a while. Through other studies that I've done or self-studies, a lot of this goes back to teen pregnancies in the 80s and 90s. And the way that you curb teen pregnancies is to have the women be more independent. So by that time, we started doing more things to encourage girls to enhance women in our society, which is all a good thing. I'm not against anything like that. I'm a girl dad. I want my daughter to have all the opportunities that she possibly can have. But that's a big part where we shifted the focus to female enhancement and not really focus on male enhancement. And the article also touches on this. We've gone from a labor work system to more of a service system. So men have fallen behind in with the disappearing of the labor jobs, and women are excelling at the service related jobs. But Ms. Minga, let's get you in here. You're a mother. You work with the youth.
These are all excellent points, and I agree with everything that's being said, because I see these statistics being manifested in so many ways in my community. And I will say that it is sickening. It is horrible. And I'm raising a son by myself who is like on maybe the other end, who is an overachiever, who loves God, who does very well in school. And I'm part of that as a single parent without the other person around like that. So I'm just taking in everything that's being said and then looking at the connections, because Professor G just talked about those 3 levels. And if you're an animal, right? If you're on that level and you're raising kids, maybe also the result of the statistics that you speak of. So are these right? So if you're an animal, then you're going to raise an animal, the animal's going to raise an animal, and that cycle continues. So it's just are you broken and you're raising? Oh, okay. So this is what I'm thinking of. Animal, essentially you're going to raise an animal. And I think that may result in the statistics that we are speaking of. So are these parents present? Do you have a present mother in your life? Do you have a present father in your life? Is what I'm thinking of when I hear these statistics.
So but Professor G and Minga, you both work with the youth, different aspects. What do you guys see from a professional standpoint as far as the development or teaching of boys and girls?
That's a great question, my brother. And the one thing we are ignoring is that there are studies upon studies that show that girls and boys learn better when they are in a homogeneous setting, meaning they are learning with other boys around them, an all-boys school, namely, and girls. Now, when girls are in an all-girls school, the numbers are off the charts about how much they learn, because you don't have that distraction. And we're not talking about things that are common sense. When you're going through puberty and your hormones are off the charts and you're sitting in, especially in junior high school. I've always heard, hey, if you want to be an alcoholic, just work in junior high school. Why? Because the hormones are off the charts and you're trying to manage all that and you're trying to get kids to learn. These things are not meshing well, and we're not addressing the elephant in the room. So you may want to look into that, if you're a parent, if you could afford it, putting your kid in an all-girls school or all boys school. A lot of these religions, that's how their schools are separated. When you go to these ultra-religious places, the girls aren't learning with the boys, and the boys aren't learning with the girls. And you don't have to be super religious to take a hold of fact and studies that show how your kid will learn better. Don't worry about society and all these things they say and how everyone's the same. It's just not true, and we have study upon study that shows that.
And to add on to that, what parents need to do too, which I urge them, is know how your kid learns best. So your kid may not thrive at a public school, maybe a Catholic school, I don't know, depending on anything. So I did my research, and my son currently attends a private school and he thrives there. So you have to know and do your research and take the time out to know what type of environment would be suitable for your child. I think it's essential as well. Like classroom sizes, that plays an impact on your child's ability to learn. So you may, your child might benefit from a smaller school with like 12 kids or so forth. So these are all things that parents should take into consideration.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like, if you really think about it, the most important thing you can do as a parent is put money into your child's education, starting a college fund, putting money aside. Hey, look, we can't all afford private school, but they have a lot of scholarships. Black people don't know this in our community. You can get scholarships and get your kid education funded. So you need to look into that. So there's a lot of different things we have to do, but the thing you cannot do as a parent, never set standards of underachieving. You have to get your kid to be an overachiever, and that's personally what I found, especially in certain communities. Our communities, namely, it's like I feel there needs to be more of a stress important on education, not just saying, hey, go to school, go to college. You got to sit down with your kid. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to study with them. Even if you don't understand the material for whatever reason, just sitting down and trying to figure it out with them is going to make a difference.
Well, I'll close it with this. I have a cousin who one time gave me some advice that stuck with me from my early 20s. It's like sometimes you just have to accept the hard work, and when you accept that what you're going to do is hard, it becomes easier because now you're mentally prepared to do that work. So, let's get our boys back on track so that they can have their own Mantastic experience. You like that? You like that finish? All right, Mantastic.
That was a great dad joke. You're welcome.
Okay.
In the Mantastic experience.
A couple weeks ago, I went to the post office, and then I saw a man being serviced by, he was giving the mail to the person, and then he walks away, and then an older woman, right, is being serviced, and he comes back into her space, and it's like, you didn't know I was here, and starts just cursing her out. Like, I was here before, like, shut the F up, shut the F up. I'm like, wow. And then tells her, you must not have a man. Are you single? You must not have a man. So I say in front of everyone, I'm like, actually, I got rid of mine and I'm very happy. And all the women on the line are laughing. They're like, me too, I'm happy too, and I'm single. So then I just started to think about if single women are happier than married women.
All right, I just want to interject real quick.
No problem.
What that guy did is not a manly thing to do. I think a lot of men think that just by showing, flexing on somebody that, yeah, I'm a man. That's not manly. That's not man. He could have very easily came to say, hey, listen, I was here, XYZ, and handled that amicably. But I'm sorry, please.
And his assumption was that she was unhappy with his behavior, but he assumed that she was just unhappy because she was single, and that's a misconception that I think that people have.
No, that guy's trash.
I'll throw this in. I think women can hit a certain level of happiness without a man. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you could probably hit the level of 6, maybe even a 7 level of happiness. But when the lights shut off and all your girlfriends are out with their husbands and on vacation and you just alone, women want a man. They want somebody's arm around them. They want to feel safe and comfortable. I can't see anyone telling me different or convincing me differently, because it's almost like an innate attraction. You don't have a choice. It's like magnets coming together. And if you're a magnet and you say, I'm going to stay away from the magnetization, you are just denying reality and the environment itself.
That sounds like the old Casey's Casey JoJo song, You Think You Lonely Now. Wait until tonight. I can sing it for y'all. Y'all know I sing on the podcast.
No, thank you.
You
No,
know.
thank you, Mr. GP. You're doing great as a podcaster.
Let me marry Professor G's comments with Minga's comments, and I want to end it with a question back to Minga, right? So I heard what Professor G just said.
Hey, we don't do that incest stuff on this show, Mr. C Square. Just want to
fire upon that. Fire upon that.
What I heard what Minga said, and I want to kind of bring it together with a question. And my question, just kind of what I'm hearing is, the description that Professor G put forth, and I heard how Minga set it up. So my question is, Minga, is it that women knowing the low probability shot of finding a good man, and therefore the high probability shot that who you choose to bring into your life is going to end up being garbage or treat you wrong or end up being abusive, whatever the case is, that because they get joy out of knowing I've avoided the high probability shot of bringing the wrong person into my household to meet my kids, etc. And so therefore I'm happy because I know most of those guys out there are garbage. Is that the joy? Or is it legit?
Did you just read my mind?
If Denzel walks in and he's single and he's got his life taken care of and he's got great credit, and he owns a house, and he's like, man, woman, you are amazing, whatever, that you're just like, no, I'm good. Like, why are you even pushing up on me? Like, I'm fine. I don't even need to know you. I'm perfectly fine single. Like, help me delineate what you're trying to describe here.
Okay, I think you read my mind. In addition to that, let me just say what I had to say, and I'll respond to that. So we all have an idea of what happiness is, whether you have a spouse, boyfriend, girlfriends, and studies C squared are showing that women are happier without children or a spouse, okay?
I've heard that.
So the research suggests that single, childless women may experience higher levels of happiness and well-being compared to their married, child-bearing counterparts. Because, and this is what I spoke to a colleague of mine, and she says, because people are expecting to go into marriage thinking that they could, that person can make them happy. But guess what? If you are not happy single, you can't be happy. You can't be a happily married person.
100%.
So, as a single woman,
I agree with that.
I am experiencing a lot of happiness right now, and my happiness is being able to take care of my children, being able to pay my bills, and as you said, this is like I fear just being tied down to someone who is not of quality, who will interfere with my happiness. And this is why I'm single. I'm not saying I'm perfect. And I mean, I even have the time to be with someone. So contrary to what Professor G said, some people are just kind of happy with their situation now.
But it's where you are. It's where you are in life, Minga.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna commend you for where you are in life, because as you've mentioned to the audience before, you're recently divorced.
Yes.
So you've had the ring on your finger. Somebody's made you their wife. It didn't work out, but you still got your beautiful children. So your children will always be your children. Your spouse isn't always guaranteed to be your spouse. So you have your children forever. But after coming out of a marriage, you should take time to recover, to reevaluate, to reassess. But your message of are you happy as single, apply that to the women who've never had a ring on their finger. They've never been proposed to their entire life. Some women are side chicks and don't even know it or won't admit it to themselves. So these people should not lie to themselves about being happy. And that's what's going on. A lot of people fake being happy because they want to try to make it seem like they where it's at, and they know they're not happy. So that's another conversation about who's really happy and who's faking happiness. And again, it has to do with where you are in life.
So, Professor, can I get the hot tag real quick?
Go ahead.
Because I've seen many a situation where women are saying that they're very happy single.
Yes.
And then they tell women in relationships, like, oh, don't move in with that man. Don't do this with that man. And then they get a man and they're doing all that stuff in record time. They move in 6 weeks.
Yes.
They're
try to trick you out
weeks.
your birthright.
Yeah,
Yes.
they like everything.
Preach,
you
brother.
sitting there like,
What niggas face?
Didn't
That's
you tell
funny.
me not to move
That's
in with
funny.
no man and I'll look at you? So you can't don't go by that. A lot of people, just like you, I would take it back to the club days. Like when men were in the club and you start talking to one girl and the other girl come in there like Matumbo waving the finger, and it's like nobody was even talking to you. How did you get into this?
The seat
they stop
blockers.
you. Yeah, they stop you from talking to this guy. But if a guy starts talking to them that they like,
Right.
they're good. So
Right.
be careful with that. I do think it is important to be happy single. You have to establish who you are. You have to know what you want, what you don't want. That's important. But I think being in a relationship, if that's important to you, there's some people that don't want kids. That's fine. There's some people that don't want to get married. That's fine.
They wow for
That's
that.
fine.
Now,
That's
can't
fine.
have kids. I want to make sure to acknowledge,
don't
can't
want.
have kids is different from don't want kids.
Don't
so if
want.
you just don't want kids, you're most likely a selfish, self-centered individual.
Wow.
I know people are gonna get at me, but it's true. The truth is right
You know
here
what?
on
You
the
know what?
Mantastic Experience.
I'm gonna speak up for the person, and I have children, but I'm gonna speak up for the person that just got offended by what you just said, Professor G. Because at the end of the day, you have to be willing, excited about leading and developing another human being.
Yes.
And so, to your point, sir, I would argue there's a lot of people that become parents that have no business being parents.
Facts. And I don't think it's just as
Zero
simple
patience,
to say,
selfish.
yeah,
It's all about them.
Say, if you don't want kids, you're self-centered. I think that's a bridge too far.
It's not, because not to cut you off, Mr. GP, but if you listen to what I know, but if you listen to what C Square said, is that these people are not ready to be parents because they're self-centered. So yeah, you got to get rid of the. All right, go ahead, black man.
Oh, I can finish my sentence. Oh, okay.
Ahead, black man.
So yeah, there are some people. It's not what they're looking for. I'll say this: me and my wife, we took a while to conceive. And I told her, look, even if we never have kids, we travel the world, we'll make the best of what this life is. There's a lot to do in the world.
You could
if
adopt.
You have kids, that's we talked about adopting too.
You could adopt,
we talked about a lot of things.
People don't talk about that.
But again, there's certain people that they're just not interested. Maybe they know they don't have the temperament to have kids. There's one celebrity who talked about it because he was like, with his travel schedule and everything like that, he knew he wouldn't be the father that he would want to be, so he never had that kid because he wouldn't want to put that kid through that life of my father's not there.
So
but he's choosing himself over the kids. Go ahead, nigga. My fault. Go ahead.
But you don't exist. Choosing himself over.
Because Professor G, what if their work that they're so consumed by is a very giving work? What if they lead some kind of nonprofit organization that's feeding millions of kids a year?
I'm still gonna say there's nothing better than extending your own line, your family. Blood is thicker than water. We don't talk about this.
Point, the celebrity I'm talking about is John Cena, who was granted the most Make-A-Wishes ever, visiting sick kids in hospitals and all types of things. So he's done a lot of charity work towards kids.
Right.
And he said he didn't want to have his own kid because he knew with his schedule and traveling, he just wouldn't be the father that he would want to be.
So let me pose you a question. How has having kids with your wife, how does it change your dynamic in terms of your life? And
oh my goodness, that's a whole nother episode, Minga. Don't get me started.
I don't know if we got enough time left in the
segment. You guys Mr. Professor G's big on the kids. How has it changed your life? I want to know.
How do kids change my life?
Yes.
Oh man, so we've talked in the past about what level are you on? Are you on a God level, or are you on a man level, or are you on an animalistic, instinctive level? And I can say that when I had my first daughter, I was definitely closer toward the animalistic level. I was acting instinctively. But when I looked into the eyes of my beautiful daughter, my life changed. I froze. Knew we had to think of things in a better way. And having my daughter, I allowed nature and the universe to give me future vision. So now when my mans was like, yo, I have a quick plans to make money and get it into your hands, I'm like, what about my daughter? If something happened, who's taking care of her? And that now took me from the animal level to the man level. And I pray to get to the God level.
Love it.
I'll
I
say
love
this.
it.
I'm a bit different, so I would say I was already at the man level. But when we found out that my wife was pregnant, it was like, all right, it's time to get back into church because this kid is going to be raised with some morals. There has to be something that reinforces home lessons, and the only other place I would do that is the church. So I've been from pregnancy. I've been consistently in church every Sunday, and that's just how she's going to grow up. So it does change.
It's a fact.
So I guess we're
Minga,
gonna leave this here. Nope. Go ahead.
Minga, what say
Yeah.
you? Are you gonna always be happier by yourself, or do you eventually want to be with that special
I think
someone?
Pete Square just read like everything off of my mind. It's not because ideally I would like someone, but it's just not someone who could be aligned with my core values, and because of that, I can be satisfied with what my current situation is. It's just looking beautiful. That's it.
There it is.
We're gonna take this
Mantastic
lesson
Experience.
Oh, you gonna close me out? I was closing it up.
Oh, I thought I was closing. You closing?
I'm closing.
Go close the Bumbleclot show, man.
As I was saying, for you women who say you're happy single, you're lying. When those skeletons come out your closet and start chasing you around the room. This is the Mantastic Experience.
He just wanted to sing.
Now I see why he wanted to close.
He wanted to
The
sing.
fans
I
needed
see.
it. The
I
fans
see.
needed it. The fans needed it. The fans wanted it. You're welcome. I take hate as a compliment.
Oh.
So I take hate as a compliment. So I know when y'all hated on my singing, it's because it's fantastic. Or should I say fantastic?
You're a masochist.
Singer intro coming soon. Just y'all wait.
That's when everybody swipes away from the video. Start singing.
Listen,
All right, let's do this.
When I get my
C
record
square.
deal, when I get my record deal, don't ask me to come on tour.
I don't think they make records like that anymore, bro. But let's do it.
Mantastic Experience. C Square's here. Get your money right. Have no fear. So hit them with it, Square.
We've been on this journey talking about wealth building. I thought it'd be a good idea to just do a bit of a wrap up, a bit of a summary, a bit of an all-in-one kind of mashup to make sure we're all up to speed. Just in case you missed an episode, just in case you missed a segment. And I thought it'd be a really good idea.
Don't ever miss an episode.
Is kind of don't ever miss an episode. So what I thought about was, hey, there are 3 basic, essential money mistakes that you have to avoid. And I'm talking really specifically, like laser focused on our 20-somethings, right? You're 23, 25, 28, maybe young 30s, trying to get yourself straight. 3 things you got to avoid, right? The number 1, what we call lifestyle creep. What does that mean? Lifestyle creep is you're living, maybe you get a little bit of a raise, and instead of taking that little bit of a raise, maybe you change jobs, now you're making more money, whatever it is, instead of taking that little bit of extra money and doing something really super productive, like establishing an emergency savings or paying down some credit card debt or putting some money aside for a child's education, wherever, right? Instead of that, what we instead do is we decide, hey, now I can afford that new apartment, or now I can afford that car, and so you take that extra money and you put it into more expenses, more liabilities, more depreciating assets. That's one thing, right? Lifestyle creep, spending everything you earn. You've got to create a gap between what you earn and what you spend, what you earn and what you spend. You don't want to be what you earn and what you spend, because then you got problems, right? Then you're in debt. What you want to do is earn and then spend, and it's widen that gap. Next piece, avoiding investing or waiting too long to start, right? Some people feel like, oh, I'm so young, I don't need to be saving for retirement. But we had a segment where we talked about the power of compounded interest. And if you invest that money, the earlier you invest it, the longer it has to invest, the longer it has to grow, and the more you get that power of exponential growth with your investment income, right? So if you can even start setting aside money in a 529 plan for a child that isn't even born yet. So it's awesome, right? Number 3.
All right, let me get it right there before you hit number 3. What's a 529 plan?
Okay, 529. We should probably get into that. 529 plan is an account that you can set up for a child. Doesn't have to be your child, But the idea is set up for a student to be able to go to school. And what happens is the power of the 529 plan, as long as the money is used for education, is that as you invest it and it grows, when you pull the money back out to spend it on education, you don't have to pay taxes on the growth, on the earnings of the portfolio. So let's say you invested $100 a month for 5-10 years, and now your child wants to go to private, you want to send your child to private school, right? What we were talking about earlier in terms of putting our children in maybe a same-sex private school, things of that nature, to help them excel in education. So now you want to put them in private school, or you want to send them to college. When you pull that money out, if you accumulate the money you put into the account, let's hypothetically say you put in $15,000. I'm just using really round numbers, but it's grown to be $35,000 because of how long you've been investing and how well the market's performed. That difference is $20,000. If it's not in a 529 plan, but it performed the same way, you now have to pay taxes on the $20,000. And that taxes is at your regular tax rate, which might be 20%, 25%, 30%, all the way up to 39.7%. So the government's taking that money that you set aside for your education of your child. But if you put in a 529 plan, none of the money goes to the IRS. It goes to the education of your child. So that's the power of the 529.
Can I use that money and send the kid to the school of hard knocks? Or
no.
Okay.
That's where you roll dice to pay your tuition.
But you can but you can send them you can use that money and send your child to like a trade school. You can send anything that's going to help them enhance their skills to be able to be more productive in society and self-sufficient.
And you say you can do that before the child is born?
You can set it up before the child was born. You do have to name a beneficiary. So you can name your spouse as a beneficiary, you can name a relative as a beneficiary, and then as you're the owner of the account, so you can change the beneficiary when your child is born. Okay.
All right. So what's
third
step
piece,
3?
real quick. Step 3 is ignoring high interest debt. We spent a lot of time talking about this. Credit cards, but not just credit cards, car notes. Right? You go and you buy that used car, but if it's more than 3 or 4 years old before you buy it, yes, you're saving money on the car, but if you still need a loan to get that older used car, they're going to jack up that interest rate on you. That's another hidden secret, right? So if you're paying 9, 10, 12, 15%, let's say, on a car note, that's just as bad as paying, 28, maybe even, 28, 30% on a credit card. So ignoring high interest debt. If you have the debt, if you have to take the debt, then you've got to have a plan to pay that debt down, get yourself back to zero, get your credit right. And that way, if your credit's right and you're making good money, then you'll be able to demand and command the best rates when you do have to borrow, and hopefully for productive reasons. So those are the top 3 mistakes. All right, now, y'all, what you got for me? What kind of questions? What do we got?
Well, I got one because I think. Oh, I'm sorry, Professor.
Go ahead, shoot.
So my question is because I think a lot of people, it's like you're already kind of like your boat's already taking water, and you're trying to get that water out, and more water's coming in. So I think that's the average person. Like you have some debt, you're trying to get rid of it. Whatever prices go up, something happens, an emergency happens, you have to use your savings on that. What's your advice for that person?
So I'm gonna get preachy on you here in a second, but you asked the question, so it's your fault. There is a parable in the Bible, in the New Testament, where it's called the parable of the talents, where a wealthy man gives talents or gives money to 3 different people. He gives 1 talent to one, 5 to another, and 10 to the third. And what happens is when they come back, he wants them to give an account for what they did with the talents.
Yeah.
And the one with 10 said, hey, I took your 10, I invested it, and now I have more. The one who had 5, I took your 5, I invested it, and now I have more. The one who had 1 said, hey, I knew you were just he starts complimenting the king or the leader. And then he says, I took your 1, I buried it because I didn't want to lose it. And so here's your 1 back.
Loser.
And the king cursed him and said he did a bad thing because he did not invest it. But the thing that you need to understand about that parable that I think some people miss is that all 3 of those people knew what they did with the talent. They had an accountability. Even the one who was cursed, he knew what he did with it and he could produce it back. My question of everybody that's watching right now, everybody that's listening, If I told you how much money did you make last month, can you tell me what you spent that money on down to the penny last month?
Yeah,
And if
Professor.
you can't,
Mhm.
okay, my bad. Oh, you're asking
No,
Professor?
well, you know,
No,
a lot
no,
of
go
people.
ahead.
Well, here's the honest answer. A lot of people don't want to think about it. A lot of
Right.
people don't think about it because, you know, I'll be quite honest with you. It's like my finances for most of my life, I'm living on the edge.
Yes, sir.
So it's like you're trying not to live check to check, but emergencies keep happening. And then when you got children, things happen. The kids want to graduate, they want to eat, they want to, you know, do all these extra
the
things.
nerve.
Yeah. So when that's coming up, oh, it's your birthday, you want to celebrate it now. Oh, we gotta spend money. So when this thing happened, and then you look at your account, you don't want to think about how much money you spent. You just thinking about your kid had a wonderful time during their birthday riding a horsey that you couldn't afford to rent out.
Look, there needs to come to a time where you force yourself to look at what's going on for real. And I'm not saying you do it right when the baby's first born and you're running around buying diapers and strollers and all that. But I think you got to come to a time where you say, listen, it is more valuable for me to be commanding my money, set up an emergency account, pay down this debt, have a savings, and know that I'm going to be able to retire at some age without having to work. That needs to be more valuable to us as a people than riding around in the latest car with the latest J's, you know, with the greatest outfit, paying for, you know, your girl's nails, you know, her hair and everything like that. I'm not saying that stuff isn't important. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done. But here's the thing that I've learned. If you know what you're spending the money on, you will realize there's things you're spending money on you shouldn't be spending it on. But if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss those you're going to miss catching that stuff. I've just learned it from experience. Force yourself the pain of going through what you're spending your money on, and then you'll find the little gaps, and then you start building that out and start realizing.
I have a question. How financially, like in terms of benefits, like when you have a spouse, is it financially beneficial to you guys?
Oh, no.
In terms of saving and what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's beneficial. Because what happened, Minga?
I'm asking for a friend.
Okay, what happened, Minga, in the 1970s when women started to go to work en masse? Because before the 1970s, a lot of women were home. A lot of people wouldn't even hire women to work.
Right.
But when they started going to work, the economy became based on a two-income economy, and that's around the time that prices of homes doubled. Because there are two of you working now, so both of you can put in. So women going to work was good, but it kind of made everything more expensive. So in a world where it's based on two incomes, it's gonna be hard for somebody single. I always feel for the single mothers. And I ask you, Minga, do you find gaps in your budget where you could put money away, like C Square was talking about, as a single mom?
I definitely find gaps in terms of saving money. It's hard, but I just made a conscious effort to save money. Child support can be used as savings. You don't have to spend your child support. You can put it to your savings.
Okay, so we're going to, as your legal consigliere, we're going to delete that comment. Child support is to be used for the child.
Okay, we're not saying that. Okay,
it's to be spent on the child.
Listen. I'm gonna help Minga out.
My money is for my kids.
Because Minga receives child support.
Thank you.
She then has the ability to take some of her income and save it. Come on,
now, y'all. Okay. There we go. That's a lot better.
That does sound better.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Hey, I just want to put out there, I know Minga's kids, they're in private school. So of course she's spending money on the kids.
Right.
No,
and that takes sacrifice. That takes sacrifice. That's a delayed gratification. There are things that private school costs that Minga could be otherwise doing with that money. But she's deciding this is more important. And so I'm going to put that money towards my children's education. She is delaying gratification in another part of her life. And the reward for her is her children will be more competent, more educated, more confident, and they will become huge productive individuals in their society, hopefully go on to have great families and great lives. That's her value system, and I love it. Right? That's what I'm trying to explain here, is that everyone has money that they don't need to be spending the way they're spending. And you're not really going to know until you really take that accountability. And then you got to figure out, where can I delay gratification? Where can I delay?
Starbucks. Stop getting that Starbucks coffee, people.
Could be
Paying
Starbucks.
$8 to $12 for coffee beans that they. I ain't gonna go
That's
into it.
right. So you guys buying J's rejects are just $1.99. Rejects. They make your feet feel fine.
Like Nick's shirts
you took
and
it
Nick's
back.
hats.
Right.
Stop.
Right.
Right.
Whoa!
Wow.
What did she say?
Shots.
She said, "Stop
Shots
Nick's
fired.
shirts and Nick's hats." Minga, this is war gear right here. This is
That's
my
right.
camouflage
Go
for
New
the New
York,
York.
go.
Oh man, she just hurt. Minga, I'm gonna get you a Knicks hat. That's what we're
No
gonna
problem.
do. Okay,
Okay.
I'm gonna get you one of these bad boys.
All right. So listen, watch your pockets, because if you ain't watching them, they just going to get emptied.
Yeah,
Fantastic experience.
boom.